somewhere out in open water, past the last inhabited coastline, past the last fishing boat and the last commercial flight path. There is a piece of land that does not exist on any map you will ever see. No tourists have ever set foot on it. No journalist has ever been allowed to photograph it. And the people who work there are bound by contracts so severe that many of them will never speak about what they saw for the rest of their lives. This is not fiction. This is the real, hidden world of billionaire private islands. And by the time this video ends, you are going to understand why the richest people on Earth are no longer satisfied with mansions, yachts, or private jets. They want something far more extreme. They want to own an entire world, cut off from ours, where they, and only they, decide what is real. It starts with a simple question that most people never think to ask. Why would someone who already owns skyscrapers, fleets of cars, and homes on every continent want a remote island instead of anything else money can buy? The answer is not the beach. It is not the palm trees. It is control, absolute and total control. The kind that does not exist anywhere else on this planet for a private citizen. When a billionaire buys an island, they are not just buying land. They are often buying the surrounding waters as well, which means they can legally dictate who is allowed anywhere near their home, down to the very last wave that touches the shore. There are no city councils to answer to, no neighbors to complain, no laws they did not effectively write themselves through private security, private construction codes, and private everything. It is, in every sense of the word, the closest a single human being can get to owning their own nation. But here is where the story turns genuinely strange, because what actually gets built on these islands goes far beyond luxury. Investigators and former staff members, speaking only under conditions of anonymity, have described underground bunkers poured directly into volcanic rock, engineered to withstand not just hurricanes but far worse. Some islands run entirely off the grid, with desalination plants turning seawater into drinking water, solar farms large enough to power small towns, and storerooms stocked with enough food and supplies to survive total isolation for the better part of a year. Airstrips are built so private jets can land directly, bypassing customs entirely on neighboring inhabited islands. Some properties maintain a full staff of groundskeepers, chefs, and security teams 365 days a year for an owner who may only set foot there once or twice. This is not a vacation home. This is a fortress disguised as paradise, built by people who are quietly preparing for a version of the future the rest of us are not being told about, and the secrecy does not stop at the shoreline. Visitors are frequently required to surrender their phones the moment they step off the boat. Photography is banned outright, enforced by private patrols who monitor the surrounding water in speedboats around the clock. Staff members sign non-disclosure agreements so severe that confirming a single guest was ever present on the property can trigger a financial penalty large enough to end a career. Some of these islands are legally owned through shell companies stacked one inside another, registered in jurisdictions specifically chosen, because they make true ownership almost impossible to trace, even for journalists who spend years trying. This is why so few of these stories ever surface publicly, and why the ones that do are often only fragments, secondhand accounts, or leaked documents that raise more questions than they answer. Now here's the part that most people never expect. Buying the island itself is often the cheapest step in the entire process. Undeveloped land in remote regions can sometimes be purchased for what a billionaire would consider pocket change. A few $1,000,000 for something the size of a small town. But turning raw, uninhabited land into a fully functioning private paradise is where the real fortune disappears. Every piece of construction material, every generator, every gallon of fuel, every piece of furniture has to be shipped or flown in at extraordinary cost. Fresh water has to be manufactured from the ocean itself. Environmental permits in many tropical nations can take years to secure, since native ecosystems are often legally protected, and violating those protections can trigger international scrutiny. Insurance premiums alone can run into the millions annually because these properties sit directly in the path of hurricanes, rising sea levels, and total geographic isolation. Industry estimates suggest that maintaining a fully developed private island can cost more per year than most people will earn in their entire lifetime. And that is considered a reasonable price for privacy at this level. This is where the story reaches its most unsettling turn, because the deeper you look into who actually owns some of these islands, the harder the trail becomes to follow. Ownership frequently passes through numbered companies, offshore trusts, and legal structures specifically designed so that even government regulators struggle to determine who is truly in charge. Some islands sit in disputed maritime zones where it remains legally unclear which country's laws even apply. There have been documented cases, only ever discovered years after the fact, of unauthorized construction, quietly altered coastlines, and ecological damage that regulators only became aware of long after the concrete had already been poured. Labor conditions for staff living on these remote properties have occasionally drawn concern, since standard protections available on the mainland become far harder to enforce in the middle of the ocean, where the nearest courtroom might be a full day's journey away by boat. None of this proves wrongdoing on every island, but it does explain, in stark terms, exactly why this world has remained hidden from public view for so long. The secrecy is not accidental. It appears, in case after case, to be the entire point. So, what does all of this actually tell us about wealth at the very top of the world today? It tells us that the ultimate status symbol is no longer something you show off. It is something you make disappear entirely. A mansion says, "Look at what I have built." A private island says you will never even know what I have built, or what happens inside it. Some researchers who study extreme wealth believe this reflects a deeper anxiety among the ultra-rich, a growing belief that the world is becoming less stable, less predictable, and less safe, and that the only real insurance policy left is total isolation, powered by your own water, your own electricity, and your own private security force answering to no one but you. There is a bitter irony buried in all of this. The people with the resources to solve some of the world's biggest problems are, in certain documented cases, spending those same resources building the most sophisticated escape hatch from those problems that has ever existed. And that leaves us with the question this entire investigation keeps circling back to, the one that no journalist, no leaked document, and no former employee has ever been able to fully answer. If some of the wealthiest people on Earth are already quietly building self-sufficient, fortified, completely hidden worlds of their own, cut off entirely from the rest of us, what exactly are they preparing for? Is it simply the ultimate expression of privacy? Or is it something closer to a warning, one that most of the world has not been paying attention to? Somewhere out there, right now, behind a wall of shell companies and non-disclosure agreements, on a piece of land that does not officially exist, someone already knows the answer. We may never find out who they are,